Welcome to the Cowboy Up podcast. This is where talk is all about the West, the spirit of the West, and especially the people and personalities that make up the West. And this is brought to you by White Stallion Ranch and Cowboy Spirit Radio Productions. Okay, Russell, how in the heck are you? Your
good.
Voice is getting better.
I'm
liking to hearing that.
It's been a long road, but it's a lot better.
Well, I like that, you know. Now, I'm going to let everybody know my name is Steve Clausen, but the one you're all tuning in to listen to is Russell True, and, of course, our guest, Jana Earp, who calls herself a corporate cowgirl. Jana, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being here. I love the term corporate cowgirl.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of embodies everything. I work in corporate America, but my heart is definitely in the cowboy way of life, and so it just seems to fit for me.
How do you straddle that fence?
Some days is a little bit more corporate, some days is a little bit more cowgirl, that's for sure. But, I think cowgirl is definitely a mindset and a way of living, whether you're on the ranch or in a corporate office. So try to just take those values with me everywhere I go into different meetings and events. So some days I spend a lot more time out on the ranch and in nature, and then some days it's the concrete jungle that I get to visit and meet a lot of people.
Well, I don't do much. I don't do any social media actually, and I'm on LinkedIn, and so I see it all, but I get help with doing that. But I see you on there all the time. I read that you focus on sales, marketing, partnerships, connecting brands. Of course, I guess in Texas, including the oil and gas industry, ag, Western lifestyle. I mean, is that what do you do? Give us an example of how you merge corporate America and the Western lifestyle.
So I started my career in the oil and gas industry, and I grew up in agriculture. I grew up on a ranch. I own my own ranch now, but career-wise, I didn't ever think to work in agriculture. So I found an incredible job in oil and gas and really was mentored by some amazing people and found myself in sales, which is something I never thought I would do because I didn't realize at the time that sales was really just meeting a need of a client, finding out what they needed and then giving them the best possible options and help market their product. So I really fell in love with being able to meet clients' needs. I had an incredible mentor where I was, but then kind of got that itch to come back home a little bit more. And although the oil and gas industry is closely related to land and livestock, I just really, really wanted to come back to my roots even more and had the opportunity to work for a agriculture company focusing on beef cattle, which cattle has my heart. I've always loved cattle. So then I transitioned to more of agriculture and Western, and I got to work with companies that I was already buying their products and using their equipment day to day on my ranch. And so it was really neat to be able to say, I already know a little bit about what you're doing, but tell me how we can take y'all to the next level or connect you with your target clients and get your products out there in even more hands, because these were products that I already used and believed in. So it was a really seamless transition and a really good fit to be able to just talk about things that I use day to day.
Having that belief in the product you're talking about makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does. It is so easy to have conversations and stand by what I'm trying to connect people to.
Are you able to talk about some of the brands you work with?
Sure. So right now I'm doing, I've always been in publications. So right now it's more Western lifestyle and Western travel. So a lot of museums and boot companies and apparel and things like that. When I was with the beef industry, it was John Deere and Massey Ferguson and things, a lot of the feed companies, and so some of the bigger clients, but then there was also a lot of smaller clients like L4 Roping, a little family startup that was creating their business. So really big corporate clients down to the mom and pop stores that was starting up and really trying to create an additional stream of income.
Do you have a preference, the big ones or the little ones, or?
The little guys will always be my favorite. I will root for the underdog every chance I get. I love seeing an idea come to life. And, although the budgets aren't necessarily there, and those may not be the ones that really make a huge impact, they're the ones that make an impact for me personally. And getting to talk to people and see goals or maybe things that they didn't even think that they could achieve, but being really creative with their marketing dollars and offering some ideas while they're creating this product or building this business, and then allowing me to kind of be the voice of here's ways we can promote your company through social media or print advertising or in-person events. In-person events were always probably my favorite because, as you know, especially in this industry, connection is everything.
Absolutely. I know for me, when I'm working with a smaller company, which I've done off and on, more on than off, I feel like I'm not just doing it for the business, I'm doing it for a family. That makes me very, very happy.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that.
So give me an example of an in-person event.
So a lot of the things that I've done in the past have been big conferences and conventions where we'll have exhibitor booths set up. Maybe I've had anything between 1,500 booths to maybe 5 booths throughout my career, just depending on the event. So then a company will be able to come, set up, display their product, talk about what they have, whether it's feed or tractors or equipment. And then there's a lot of education that typically goes along with these events, because if these ranchers and farmers are going to take time to come off their property, off their companies, we really want to give them a great experience while they're there. So not only can they come and get a little bit of education and hear about some things that are happening, the latest and greatest with ranching or policy that's happening in Washington, or they can come see these products firsthand. There's a trailer manufacturer coming out with the new flooring that will be the longest lasting. So when they're running cattle in and out of their trailers, this is going to hold up the longest, and they can feel that flooring and see it and talk to the manufacturers, and then also get a little bit of education behind it. So typically events are a little bit of in-person talking event or education along with kind of seeing the products.
Well, I know you're the regional director for True West Magazine, so I've got to think you see these things every single day.
Yes.
Different products, different ideas that people have. What does that look like in the real world?
It's really, it depends on the client, and it's coming up with new ideas. Right now, my job is heavy in print publication, which is something I have a passion for, and I think will always be around. But talking to some of these clients about branching out into some social media, what does that look like, and what is the benefit for it? And then they also have a lot of different events and gatherings where, if you're in Texas, they have these Texas travel conventions and events. And is it worth setting up a booth and talking about your museum there? So just offering different ways where they can get their name out there, and not just keeping with the same thing they've been doing for the last however many years. So
when I asked about in-person events and you said, well, there might be 5 booths or 1,200, you're a participant or you're organizing these things?
Organizing it. Well, I've been both, really. Most of my career, I have always organized at least 2 of these large conventions a year. But
Wow.
With that, we would also attend other conventions to talk about our company. So I've been on both sides, and I love both sides of it too.
Is that something you're still doing? Are you still organizing some in-person events?
I'm not organizing any right now with True West. Maybe some in the future. I love making a list and checking it off. So it's something I enjoy, but not currently with True West.
And what it says currently the regional director of Western Industry for True West Magazine. What does that translate into?
So I handle all of the sales for Texas, Wyoming, Colorado, Missouri, several of the different states. True West magazine really focuses on history and lifestyle within the Western industry, and we're to travel to experience the True West lifestyle. So I do all the sales for them, and I work with a lot of, like I said, museums, hotels, kind of just travel. So if you wanted to plan a trip to Wyoming and you wanted a roadmap, then True West magazine is a great resource for that. We have about 260,000 readers of our issues each month, so we have a pretty big audience, and they love to look at the travel issues and say, all right, I want to go to the Texas Hill Country. Where's the best way to do that? And we're kind of a resource for them.
Oh, okay. No, we really know True West well, and Bob has been on the podcast, and Stuart, and we have kind of a long history
Wonderful.
with True West, and they, we've got them in our rooms. There's no better magazine to talk about in a broad way. It's got the history, but obviously is a core thing, but it's got travel, and it's got current issues, like when they were talking about the Billy the Kid photo. Is it real? Is it not? We know the magazine well. It's terrific. It's Alan always said it was his favorite magazine. So we're fans. It says you're the founding member of Cowgirls and Cocktails, great name, a networking group that is empowering women in the Western industry.
What does that look like? What does that mean?
Yeah.
What do y'all do?
Yeah, so my dear friend
clues.
Lexi, yeah, there's clues.
Yeah, I guess there are.
It's a good time for sure, as you can imagine. But my dear friend Lexi was new to the industry. She had come from kind of construction background, and so she started the group and really just wanted it to be a way for cowgirls in the Western industry to get together and network and learn and support each other. So it started with probably 8 or 10 of us, and I was one of the girls, and it has grown. I think she has a couple of hundred members now, but she has events probably once a month where we get together, and there's education involved, but there's also just that socializing and networking. And, I think that everyone has imposter syndrome sometime. And am I enough? What am I doing here? How do I navigate this next step? So it's really neat to get together and say, I have this client who wants to do this. Have you experienced it before? Or, man, I'm really looking to grow in my career, and I need something that's the next step. There's a lot of job opportunity conversations within those circles, and just a lot of just supporting each other and having a space that's safe to talk about your highs and your lows.
Well, you talked about imposter syndrome, and I know you're a huge advocate for women in agriculture, and this is, let's be honest, it's been a very male-dominated industry, so trying to, like you said, hold your own in this has got to be a unique challenge, and I think they probably are equal to the task once they really sit down and think about it. Is that accurate, or?
Yeah, I would absolutely say that I've always kind of worked in a male-dominated industry. I am very fortunate to be, my dad raised me with a lot of confidence, and I never thought there was something that I couldn't accomplish. And I know that's rare, and so I'm thankful for it. But certainly getting in rooms full of women that are absolutely incredible and just knocking it out of the park every day, and then hearing them talk about F, or I wasn't welcomed at this table, or I wasn't welcomed in this group. It happens a lot, and I think that you have to come to the table being very confident in yourself, and just know that if you are not invited to this table, there's another table for you. If you're not invited to a certain group of people or conversation, that doesn't mean that you don't belong there. It just means that you maybe need to start your own conversation.
I like that.
But I think it is, yeah, it's hard at times, but I will say there's definitely incredible men and women out there that are looking to support you. You just have to find the right people.
And they're willing to support you, actually.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm a little older than you. I'm betting, and so I've been around this a long time, and my life's been mostly in dude ranching, but the cattle industry is we're small scale in that, been around it. And, both in the cattle business and the dude business, which of course overlap a lot sometimes, my belief is historically and up to the more modern era where I think there's a whole lot more, whatever it's called, gender equality or whatever, I think that women had a very big role in whatever was going on. They were participating in roundups, or they were really probably running the dude ranches. The disparity really came in the power side of that equation. It wasn't that they weren't participating. It wasn't that they weren't, yeah, honey, let's go roundups. You're out there too. But when the decision making or whenever the groups that held and managed power, that's when women were excluded. I think that's the change. Is that fair?
I think that is a great point. You're right. And I think, some of that falls on being women and having homes to run as well as businesses, and maybe not being the one that goes to the bigger meetings or being the face of places. But yeah, I would agree with that for sure. It's nice to see some women on boards and things like that now too.
Right. Well, I mean, you see across the culture, I think it's shifting. Western culture probably moves a little slower. But on that, we got to take a quick break.
At Golden Wings Horseshoes, we've always known that our best marketing is done by our customers. We received a letter from Barb Whitus, and here is her story in her words. I have a 10-year-old quarter horse gelding. He was diagnosed with a navicular cyst about 3 years ago, so he had shoes and pads on at all times. I heard about Golden Wings Horseshoes from Russell True on his Cowboy Up podcast and decided to try them. He was continually sore with regular shoes, and within 1 month of wearing Golden Wings Horseshoes, he was back to competing and winning buckles. Thank you very much for such a great product. Stories like this from Barb are just one of the many reasons we do what we do. If you're looking for a great solution for your horse, please check out goldenwingshorseshoes.com or call us at 602-909-3144. That's goldenwingshorseshoes.com or 602-909-3144 and get ready to saddle up. Okay, Jana, I noticed your last name is Earp. Now, is there any relationship at all? I mean, I have to ask, right?
Yes, that's always a fun topic of conversation. So I was fortunate enough to marry into the name. So I'm here by good luck, I guess. But yes, my father-in-law has some paperwork, and I need to dig into it more. But we're definitely related to the legendary Earp family.
That's fantastic. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So
anytime.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Anytime somebody asks my husband, are you related to Wyatt Earp? He thinks he's funny, and he said my son, because that's what he named his oldest son, of course.
So. Given that, have you ever been to Tombstone?
I have not. But I need to go. I've been farther west than that, but I haven't ever come to or really any of the that part of the world. And so, especially being with True West, it's how am I make it out there?
So, and you're kind of breaking up. So if you're moving, just kind of hang tight for us. We lost you a little bit.
Alrighty.
Well, I have two stories for you that relate to what you just said. So Bob Bosbell, the publisher at True West, is a friend, and we bought a little dude ranch outside Tombstone. It's 2.5 miles out of the heart of the really very small town of Tombstone. And so shortly after we bought it, I invited Bob down, and he was going for something. I don't know what he was doing. He's a busy guy. So he's down in Tombstone, and I was in the little town at the same time. And somebody comes running up to me, because by then Bob and I had gone 2 different places. And this guy comes running up to me. He says, "Oh, my God, Russell, you wouldn't believe Bob Bo's Bell is in Tombstone." And I said, "Well, I actually knew that." And so he's in places like that. He's a big celebrity. And, of course, as you know, he's done all kinds of things. And he's a multi-talented guy, plus one of the most entertaining people I know. The other story is, if you go down there with the name Earp and sit down and Big Nose Kate's, True West is one of the best Western bars in America, or Crystal Palace, or any of those places, I bet you can inspire an argument about, to this day, about who was the good guys, the Earps or the Cowboys. And, somebody who's read a fair amount of that history, it boggles my mind, and also instructs me that there's always going to be somebody take the other side, because anybody who thinks the Cowboys were the good guys in that story don't know any of the history, or their version of right and wrong is so warped. The fact that the Earps were not 100% pure, in their morality or whatever, they were clearly the good guys. And it's an interesting Western story. So you got to go to Tombstone.
I will. It is high on the bucket list, but very interesting point that it would be argued if they're the good guys or the bad guys. Would have never even thought conversation would come up.
It's, Marshall Trimble, the official historian of Arizona, I asked him on the podcast one time. I said, I always ask because we're involved in Tombstone. I said, well, where do you come down on this? And Marshall goes, well, I've heard all the arguments, and, both sides have their points. But he said, everybody the Earp shot got shot in the front, and everybody the Cowboy shot got shot in the back. And I thought, that's a good bottom line.
Really sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's all I need to know.
Yeah, that's all I needed anyway.
Okay, now, Jana, I want to switch topics here. I know that you're a sponsorship director for the Jackson Anthony Memorial Foundation. I would appreciate it, and you and I bonded over this. I would appreciate it if you would talk about what that is and just what it means to people.
Absolutely. This is something I love to share about. The Jackson Anthony Memorial Foundation pays for infant funerals for families who lose a child early on. My friends actually started the foundation after their son, Jackson Anthony, passed away shortly after childbirth. And they also had a second son, Riker, that passed away shortly after childbirth too.
Oh.
So they're working on a second foundation in Riker's name, but they really took this tragedy and turned it into something that has blessed hundreds of families. They set up this nonprofit, and we have several events throughout the year that people come and donate, and we get to share stories of the families that have lost their children, but then we've been able to help. It's a hard conversation because it's so needed, but something that is so heavy to talk about. So they set up the foundation and did an incredible job of it. With me having a background in sales and sponsorships and all that, I met them and learned their story, and I'd gone through some miscarriages early in my life, and so it really resonated with me, and they allowed me to step in and help kind of grow the financial part of it.
I don't know what it's like today, but I lost a daughter in 1990. And at that point in time, the statistic was 94% of couples that lose a child end up divorced.
Wow. Yeah, I believe that.
So God bless you for being involved in this and the lives that you help dramatically by doing this. It's absolutely wonderful. So getting to a lighter topic now, because that's pretty heavy. You've got a heavy focus on things like fashion and agribusiness, which I think is kind of an interesting blend, if you will. Can you talk about that? I mean, I know you're all about Western heritage and kind of combining everything and put it all together.
Well, let's just say the Western fashion I kind of fell into. I'm just kind of a boots and jeans and t-shirt kind of girl. And about 2 years ago, decided that I was going to get on social media because one of my favorite heifers was having a calf, and I thought the whole world needed to know about it. So I made a video, and a couple of people saw it, but I just was naive and kept making videos and kept making social media posts and was consistent. And then I started getting asked about, this Western lifestyle is so popular right now, which I love, but so many people were asking, where do I buy boots? What's your favorite brand of jeans? Where did you get your cowboy hat? So my content and my social posts kind of started turning into directing people to these different Western apparel companies that, again, I had grown up wearing and loving and really loved promoting and putting out there. So the fashion side, I really fell into, but it's been fun to connect with people who maybe are buying their first pair of boots, or maybe they're buying their 100th pair of boots, but everywhere in between, just learning these ladies' stories and their why behind they even want boots. And I love that the Western fashion is popular right now, and I feel like it's really the gateway into agriculture and Western history and all the things that I love. If the conversation starts over a turquoise necklace or boots or hat, I can talk about why I wear those boots. I grew up wearing them because we had cattle, and we have cattle because we want to raise our own beef, and we raise our own beef because we love the land, and it just kind of goes from there. So I feel like the fashion is kind of the gateway conversation.
Well, I know here in Tucson, we've got the 100th anniversary of the Tucson Rodeo coming up actually next month, right, Russell?
Right.
Yeah. And I know my wife now, who doesn't own any of this stuff, but she wants to get the right pair of boots and the right shirt and the right hat, because she doesn't want to show up at either the rodeo or the parade, because we're going to both. She doesn't want to show up where she's looking out of place at all. She wants to feel like she's one of them. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that'll be a fun shopping trip.
No, Cowtown Boots is excited about that.
I mean, Cowtown Boots. Jeez, you don't go to Boot Barn.
I do not go to Boot Barn. I go to Cowtown Boots.
Cowtown Boots. Jeez, my mind. What is the expression? It slipped out of my mind. It's I've heard it quite a bit lately. Cowboy something, talking about the explosion of the interest in the culture. Do you know what I'm talking about? Somebody just said it to me again yesterday, and it's already. But a lot of people credit Yellowstone. I think it sure deserves some of it. Cowboy something, but of course, none of that is ever bad for a dude rancher. Get the clothes. In fact, we had a guy. He's in Buffalo, New York. He was here last week with his. There were two of them, and they own a Western wear store in Buffalo, New York, and guests of ours came in to buy Western clothes to come out here, and sold them on the concept of a trip out here. So we got the owners of the store. But so fashion is a big catalyst, I think. You've talked about social media, and as I said, I've seen you a lot in LinkedIn, even though I'm not a participant. I get that kind of handled because I'm so bad at this stuff. But where are you? And you represent True West magazine, so that's something people may be interested in, and also just getting in contact with you. How do they do that?
Yeah, so my social media, I'm on Instagram, Jana Jacobs Earp, and then I'm also on LinkedIn. I really like LinkedIn. That's just Jana Earp. And TikTok is where I show a lot of my videos of the cattle and my Western fashion, and that one is Earp Ranch. And then at True West Magazine, you can reach me by email at jana.earp@twmag.com.
Say that one again, Jana.Earp?
Jana.Earp@twmag.com.
twmag.com. And
Yes,
and for anybody who hasn't seen True West Magazine, they haven't been to White Stang because we've got them in the rooms and all over. But it's just a great it does some in-depth stuff, but then it hits all the marks on the West, both contemporary and lots of history. And Bob, the publisher, is an artist, so you always see some of his art, whether it's on the cover or in the magazine. And he's author of so many books, and you can get those with True West magazine. So there's just there's a lot going on at True West magazine, and their main competitor, I forget what it was called, is gone. So we're kind of the True West is the last man standing.
Yep.
It is for a fact. Okay, Jana, is there anything else you want to share with us?
I just thank you for having me on, and if anyone's interested in getting involved in the Western culture, we welcome you with open arms. Connect with me on social if you want, but certainly room for everybody.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Jana, so much for your time. We really appreciate it because we know how busy you are.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're going to host you down in Tombstone and go down and get a fight started.
I'm ready.
We'll say, this is Jana Earp, and just see what happens.
Okay. Deal.
Thanks.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Jana, so much.
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap, folks, and thank you very much for your time for the Cowboy Up podcast. Indeed, we say you learn more here by accident than most places by design. And we throw in a little entertainment and some good storytelling along with all of that good stuff. Hey, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. The Cowboy Up Podcast at gmail.com. The Cowboy Up Podcast at gmail.com. We are grateful not only when you talk to us and perhaps recommend us to others, and maybe even recommend some people who could be great guests on our program. We pride ourselves that we just don't do it by ourselves. We want to include you not only as a listener, but also as a bit of a player and maybe even a participant from time to time. So Stephen and Russell would love to hear from you. Once again, the Cowboy Up Podcast at gmail.com. And remember, it's kind of cold out in a lot of part of the United States of America right now, but it's kind of nice here in Arizona in the great Southwest, and it's a good time to plan a trip. WhiteStallion.com. WhiteStallion.com, that's the place to find maybe a cowboy experience for you. Also, right nearby, the Tucson Festival of Books will be here. And, of course, March brings, it is the Cactus League. Just a scat of Major League Baseball teams find their way here to begin spring training. And that's always a good and fun time to make your way to the land of sun, cactus, copper, and, of course, cowboys. Thank you so very much. All the best and blessings to you. Take care, ride safe, and care for one another from time to time, because that truly is the cowboy way.
Storm rolled in from the western sky. 2,000 head of steers took flight. Good night paid those boys to ride, and by damn they would, though some might die. Don't say goodbye to the cowboy way. Tradition lives, and it's here to stay. 100 years and growing strong today. So don't say goodbye to the cowboy way. She's 10 years old on a stout bay horse. 300 years they guide her course, from the Spanish quest to the blue and gray, to what say goodbye.
Don't say goodbye
to the cowboy
to the cowboy way.
Tradition lives, and it's here to stay. 100 years ago and strong today.
So don't say goodbye to the cowboy way. Rawhide and steel, hooves and horns, legacy to the yet unborn. A code that comes from a hard-lived life. Your destiny when you're born to ride. Don't say goodbye to the cowboy way. Tradition lives, and it's here to stay. 100 years and going strong today. So don't say goodbye to the cowboy way.
Don't say goodbye.
Don't say goodbye
to the cowboy